யாதும் உரே யாவரும் கேடீர்.
செம்மொழி வலையொலி யூடியூப் சேனல். இந்த சேனலின் மூலமாக, அந்த வலையொலியின் மூலமாக பல்வேறு தகவல்களை தினந்தோறும் நாங்கள் வழங்கி கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நிலையில் முழுமையாக கண்டு பார்க்கலாம்.
Mamulanar, another poet of the Sangam period, also makes use of it equally effectively. A woman whose daughter has eloped with her lover laments pathetically, telling people that the young girl had managed to run away, spurning the security as tight as that which Nannan has provided his pari. Now the reader's attention turns to Paranar to find out what kind of poet he is. Stephen Greenblatt's Shakespearean Negotiations begins with the sentence, "I began with the desire to speak with the dead." Paranar, perhaps belonging to the community of singers called Panar and often mentioned along with the other great Sangam poet Kabilar, has to his credit 12 poems in Purananuru, 34 in Agananuru, 16 in Kurundagai, 12 in Natrinai, and the fifth section of 10 songs about Seran Sengutuvan in Paditrupattu. His poems are strikingly different from those of his contemporaries in that they are full of references to contemporary events and historical occurrences. He has written about some great Chera and Chola kings and the great philanthropist Pagan, and is reported to have made concerted efforts to bring together Pagan and his wife. Unlike many Sangam poets, he seems to be one who didn't have to depend too much on patrons, kings or chieftain friends. We don't come to you because of hunger. We have no burden of kith and kin to be supported. When we beg of you to be compassionate and to do good, we don't have the selfish intention of benefiting from it. This is what he says. From almost all his poems emerges the distinct personality of a poet who is interested more in historical events and personages than in myths, and extremely concerned with the lot of mankind. Positing resonance and wonder as the twin objectives, Greenblatt states that it is the function of new historicism continually to renew the marvelous at the heart of the resonant. By resonance, he means the power of the object displayed to reach out beyond its formal boundaries to a larger world, to evoke in the viewer the complex dynamic cultural forces from which it has emerged and for which, as metaphor or more simply as synecdoche, it may be taken by a viewer to stand. And by wonder, Greenblatt means the power of the object displayed to stop the viewer in his tracks, to convey an arresting sense of uniqueness, to evoke an exalted attention. When one moves from Paranar's poems to legend, folklore and history, and from one poem to another, and from them to the circumstances in which they were composed, one realizes the unique value of new historicism in understanding and appreciating them. Avvai Thurasami Pillai's painstaking research proves the authenticity of the names of kings and places mentioned in Purananuru. By examining the cave inscriptions found in Karur, Airavadam Mahadevan and Pannir Selvam concluded that Anduvan Seral Irumbarai, mentioned in the colophon of Puram 13, Selvakkadungo Valiyadan, Puram 14, Sikkarpalli Tunjiya Selvakkadungo Valiyadan, Puram 387, Seraladan, Puram 5, Tagadur Yerinda Perunjeral Irumbarai, Puram 50, and Kudakko Cheral Irumbarai, Puram 210 and 211 are all historical figures. It is to be noted that with regard to Seraman Kanaikal Irumbarai and Solan Senganan, in addition to what the colophon states, there are references to the poem and to the kings in certain other sources. Ilamburanar and Nachinarkinir cite the poem in their commentaries on Tolkappiyam. As Uve Saminathaiyar has observed, Poigayar, the court poet of Seraman Kanaikal Irumbarai, has mentioned in his poem Nattinai 18 that the king defeated one Moovan and got his teeth fixed in the doors of Tondi fortress. It is also reported that this Poigayar was the one who wrote the poem Kalaveli Narpadu on the Chola king and got the Sera released from prison. This feat of the poet is praised in Kalingat Parani, Vikrama Solan Ula, Kulotunga Solan Ula, Radharaja Solan Ula. Avvai Turesami adds that the two kings began their fight at Kalumalam and that the place is mentioned as Kunavail Kotam in Tamil Navalar Saridai and as Venni Parandalai in the preface to Nattinai and as Tirupur Puram in the Purananuru colophon. The various versions of the heroic battle between the two rulers in different sources, though differing in minor details, may be taken to confirm that it was a known historical event. Chieftains such as Pari, Oi, Anji and Kumanan, glorified in various Purananuru pieces, are not imaginary characters. Velpari ruled the area surrounding the Parambu hills, now known as Piran Malai. He was adored by Kabilar, but there is plenty of evidence to show that his name became a byword for philanthropy. Sirvanatrupadai calls him Parambil Koman Pari, who offered his big chariot as a support to a tender mullai creeper. Kurundagai glorifies the cool waters of the streams flowing down the Parambu hills. Ahananuru mentions the fresh flowers blossoming in the streams of Pari's Parambu. Sundarar of Tevaram fame pays him the greatest tribute when he says, even if the one that doesn't give is called a Pari, there is none that will give. Well, I, also called I Andiran and Andiran, was the ruler of an area under the Podiyamalai with Aigudi as its capital. He has to his credit poems by Urayur Yenicheri Mudamosiyar, Turayur Odai Kilar, Kuttuvan Kiranar, Umattur Kilar Maganar, Parangottanar, Paranar and Karikananar. Perinjitranar hails him as the one that has been sung by the well-languaged Mosi, Tirundumuri Mosi. A Nattinai poem describes the shouts of joy made by those that had received gifts from him. His heroism and bounty are praised by Paranar and Paranar in two different Purananuru poems and by Karikananar in a poem of Nattinai. Adiyaman Nedumananji, who patronized the formidable Avayar, was a chieftain who had his capital at Tahadur, now called Tharumaburi, and whose kingdom included Kovalur and Kudiraimalai. His ancestors were believed to have brought sugarcane to Tamil Nadu from foreign lands. From the 8th decade of Paditru we learned that having won several wars, he was finally killed in a fight against Seraman Perinjeral Irumborai. Only a few poems have been salvaged from Tahadur Yathirai, a reputed work about Adiyaman. Nachinar Kiniyar, in his commentary on the 7th Nurpa of Purathinai Iyal of Tolhapiyam, writes, when someone is inside, this is what is written by Nachinar Kiniyar, when someone is inside his fortress waiting for the onrushing foe to reach it, it is included under the category of Ulinyai Thinai. It is like the biding of Adiyaman at Tahadur during Seraman's march towards it. Kumanan's territory was a land adjoining Mudiramalai, now one of the Parani hills, where we have a small town called Kumana Mangalam. According to Avai Thuraisamy, this kingdom included Udumalai Petai. What belonged to the Aviyar clan during the time of the philanthropist Pagan came under the control of Kumanan later. Keeping this chronology in mind, we may conclude that the southwest of Parani Taluk and the southeast of Udumalai Petai Taluk belonged to Kumanan in the past. Of the 8 poems on Kumanan in Purananuru, the first 6 are by Perinjitranar and the last 2 by Perundalai Chatanar. That he came after the great 7 kings known as the last 7 philanthropists, Kadayelu Vallalgal, in ancient writings is mentioned by the former in Puram 158. The praiseworthy deeds of these are also recalled together in a passage in Sirubanatru Padai, and there are remarkable verbal similarities between the Purananuru poems and Sirubanatru Padai in the descriptions of almost every one of the famed 7. There is no reason to doubt the authenticity of the accounts given by the poets about their patrons. In Purananuru, we come across numerous anecdotes about them, briefly stated or described in full-length poems. The notable ones center around number 1, Arisil Kadar, his patron Pagan and his abandoned wife Kannagi. Number 2, Avayar and Adiyaman. Number 3, Kabilar, Pari and Pari's daughters. Number 4, Kari and Ori. Number 5, Kadatalayar and Seraman Perinjeraladan. Number 6, Kaviri Pumbattinathu Kari Kannanar, Solan Kurapalli Tunjiya Peruvazhi. Number 7, Kudalur Kizhar and Yanikkadsai Mandaranjeral Irumborai. Number 8, Pisirandayar and Kopparinjolan. Number 9, Kovur Kizhar, Nalangalli and Nedungilli. Number 10, Kovur Kizhar and Malayaman's children. Number 11, Seraman Kanaikal Irumborai, Solan Senganan and Poihayar. Number 12, Nakkannayar and Poravai Koppar Narkilli. Number 13, Paranar, Pagan and his wife Kannagi. Number 14, Perinjitranar, Kumanan and Ilaveliman. Number 15, Pottiyar and Kopparinjolan. Number 16, Vennikuyathyar, Karihal Chodan, Seraman and Seraman Perinjeralathan. Number 17, Avvayar and Thondaiman Ilandirayan. Number 18, Veliman and Perinjitranar. Just because more evidence than literary references is not available with regard to some of these cases, we have no right to conclude that these are not historical events that affected the lives of historical personages. So, all these poems in Purananuru which refer to these historical characters cry for immediate new historicist studies. Thank you.